Caught her cheating finally. Lurker for a while and have had some great insight from this sub. Using a burner account to avoid identification. Sorry, it's a long one, but you all are great and I'm hoping my story helps someone as many of yours have helped me. As the title says, I finally caught her. 6 months ago found some messages with STBXW and her ex. We talked about how we needed to work on marriage. This was out of the blue for me and started working on things. She said nothing happened and I actually now believe nothing did. 3 months ago she told me she no longer loved me but was confused, had no complaints, I'm a great husband and father, but just spark was gone. I took it hard and was a basket case for a month until we got into couples therapy. 2 months ago we started couples therapy and around that time she started an affair with her boss that she just started working with. I found evidence today after some sketchiness yesterday. I also notified his wife, and he is scared of me right now, and I'm relieved. For 2 months I've been racking my brain to understand why she isn't trying. For 2 months I've been in limbo hell. For 2 months I've been telling myself I'm crazy for thinking something is going on when I've asked her point blank in therapy if anything is going on and she's lied to our faces. It was her gaslighting me all along. Funny thing is that I'm in a good place now. I've basically been processing the divorce for months and have come to a point where I'm okay with myself alone. I've done a lot of work, been doing things for myself, exercising, therapy, etc. so that I could do my best to work on our marriage. Last week in therapy I gave an ultimatum that if I don't see progress I'm done sooner than she said she'd do therapy for. Turns out that set me up for this day. Things happen for a reason. I've got a long road ahead and rocky I'm sure, but feeling okay right now and pleasantly surprised. I was a mess for a while and this sub helped. I hope you're all okay out there too. Story 2. My 25M low self-esteem is making my relationship very hard. I've been seeing someone for around 7 months now. I've been in a relationship before a few years ago and it was absolute hell for me. I thought I'd work towards improving my self-esteem, but I'm quickly seeing that I haven't, and I am constantly anxious about whether or not I am good enough or attractive enough. I have intrusive thoughts and images about them cheating on me, and them wanting someone else more than me. I am just absolutely convinced someone better will come along. I'm worried she fancies her friends. I'm worried that I'm not good looking enough, funny enough, interesting enough, etc. I have a real issue with cheating, and I spend so much of my time worrying about it. The thing that maybe makes this even more complicated is that we are floating the idea of non-monogamy. We actually started out being non-exclusive for the first 6 months or so, however we both started to struggle with feelings of jealousy, so we decided we would be exclusive for now. We discussed it some more recently and considered going back to being open, but with the intention of being an open relationship with a hierarchy, i.e. we are primaries, but we are allowed to see other people. I am actually the one that was initially in favor of non-monogamy, as I have a lot of fears about cheating and am very cynical about relationships in general. I saw polyamory as a potential solution to these problems and a way of keeping things from feeling too restricted. I know it might sound crazy to consider open relationships when I am so insecure and have such a fear of cheating. But it feels just as bad to be monogamous with the fear of cheating or wanting to be with others without being able to act on it. And something both of us agree on is that we do not like how monogamy can feel restricting in a lot of ways, so I really wish that I could feel comfortable to be non-monogamous. It's impacting my ability to focus on and enjoy my own life. I do not tell her when I have these worries because I know it is not helpful and that it's all internal and nothing to do with her behaviors. I don't know if I'm just torturing myself unnecessarily by considering the options of non-monogamy given I'm so insecure, low self-esteem. However, it feels very painful and difficult to be monogamous as well. Just as bad as cheating is the thought that they could want to be with someone else but cannot act on it. That they could be attracted to someone else more than they are attracted to you. How can I ever cope in a relationship? Is it just pointless me trying to be with someone, when I find it so distressing and I am constantly anxious about everything? Story 3. I 29 meters and my girlfriend 32F had an argument about trust and drugs. How do you proceed when apologizing isn't enough? Hey everyone. My girlfriend and I have been together for about 3.5 years, long distance relationship for the first 3 and moved in together about 5 months ago. From my previous experiences I would say this is the most healthy and stable relationship I have ever been in, and I am nearly 100% certain that we will marry each other in the near future, no kids planned. So here's the thing. My girlfriend supposedly had a lot of previous relationships, which she often describes very negatively. Her ex-partners betrayed her often, didn't take on any responsibilities and basically behaved like grown children. From this, my girlfriend basically learned to not trust anybody and to not count on anyone. Now since we're together, she basically learned to trust again, which is nice, but she still is easily triggered by some things, mainly 1. When I have contact with other women. 2. When I want to consume drugs. Number 1 supposedly makes her nervous, insecure and frightened, that I might cheat on her if, for example, I would start texting my ex again. She would like to know I understand that and try to soothe her nerves in this regard. Number 2 makes her more or less furious. She thinks that drugs are awful and 100% harmful, no exceptions. Her ex-partners apparently often misused a variety of drugs and often made the relationship suffer through that. I had past experiences with a variety of drugs too, but never took any substances which I would regard as incredibly unsafe and highly addicting, such as heroin or meth. I only took them because I was curious, sometimes for raving, but in my opinion I never overdid it and I never put them in front of my social life or my responsibilities. About 4 years ago I felt that I experimented enough and stopped with all substances cold turkey. Fast forward a bit, this spring I had several weeks of free time and I delved into a long period of making music, and with that also smoking Ed every once in a while. I always make sure which strain I am smoking, inform myself about THC content etc., and measure the precise amount I want, usually 0.1 grams, and consume it through a vaporizer. Since it's supposedly healthier than burning it, I always have and do strive to what appears to be a reasonable healthy approach to consuming a substance. My girlfriend didn't like that at all. She was worried. I think I understood her perspective. We had several long talks and or arguments in which she tried to convince me that all drugs are inherently bad for me. I know she only wanted to protect herself, me and our relationship, from any potential damage, and I love her for that. I tried to make clear to her why I smoke Ed from time to time. To me it does not feel as if I am using it in a harmful way. When I do it, I only do it by myself, making music, listening to music, watching documentaries or drawing. It's a creative boost that lets my mind run freely and in a way that really inspires me. After doing so, I can draw from that inspiration for days. Mind you, I can and have for most of my life very well live without smoking Ed. I make music without it etc. I don't feel that I need it, but I just enjoy using it every once in a while. My girlfriend slowly tried to understand my perspective and apparently got the impression that indeed I don't suddenly start smoking every single day and let my life suffer due to an intense drug addiction. She basically asked from me that I would tell her every time before I chose to smoke Ed. I was okay with that. Tough it kind of felt and feels as if I am asking for permission from her, which I don't particularly like. During summer of this year I didn't smoke at all. Since we finally moved together, my new studies started and we had a whole life worth of tasks and experiences to do together. It was a great and sometimes quite stressful time, but man was it worth it. Fast forward to yesterday. I hadn't smoked in over 6 months. Last weekend my girlfriend and I both felt sick. We stayed at home. She painted some pictures and I wanted some alone time with my music and felt like it would be a good time to smoke a bit. I told her and she way okay with it. Of course she wasn't cheering me on to do so, but she really seemed fine. Now finally yesterday, she had friends visiting over the entire weekend. I had been tied to my bed the past 4 days due to a small procedure I had done at the doc, nothing dramatic. I just wasn't supposed to move too much for a few days. My girlfriend was occupied with her friends, going out for dinner, watching movies in our living room. It basically was as if we each had our own weekend and stuff to do. Now here's the kicker. I felt like inhaling some Ed again, listening to and making some music. I was tied to my bed. I had all my chores and duties done. Boo it, my girlfriend had friends of her over. It was late in the evening and they were watching a movie. Now I'm not trying to defend myself here, but due to all previous arguments and the feeling that I basically have to ask my girlfriend if it's okay if I smoke, I felt like I would not ask her and tell her the next day. I did not want to mess up her current mood and her evening by putting that topic into her brain. I mean, I sure could have texted her or asked her to come into my room quickly and tell her that I want to smoke. But in my assessment of the situation, I would cause less harm if I just did it and told her the very next morning so I could do my thing, not affect her evening negatively, and still tell her the truth the next day. Well, I smoked. She came in about 30 minutes later, asked me if I'm high and I told her yes. She left again to watch that movie with her friends. 3 hours later she came back to sleep. We had to sleep in one bed due to her friends visiting. She seemed fine and very gently asked if we could talk about this situation the next day. I of course agreed. Now today she didn't like what happened there at all. Not one bit. She feels betrayed and I knew that she wants me to tell her every time I consume drugs and I should tell her beforehand and not after, and accused me that I might have not told her at all and that now she can't trust me etc. I tried to explain that I thought my decision to tell her the next day would cause the least harm, But that doesn't seem to be relevant to her. I tried to and think that I have understood her view of the situation, and I apologized several times that I meant no harm whatsoever and that I will tell her beforehand next time. But the agreement apparently was written in stone that I ought to tell her before every time I do so, and she can't believe I didn't so and we have talked about it so many times and now her trust is damaged. I understand that, but I don't know how to proceed from here. I know that I ducked up, but I seriously didn't mean no harm, and I know that apologizing or promising I will act differently doesn't change anything, since I already broke her trust in me. So how can I proceed from here? And how can we find a solution regarding this topic which is good for both of us? In the argument today, she said that she was about to understand that I apparently don't misuse pot, or at least not in the way that her exes did, and that all I had to do was tell her before, but I didn't, and now that is proof to her that drugs change people negatively. In her view, the drug made me lie to my girlfriend. In my view, being viewed as a stoner or junkie that only consumes pot to feel better, all this stigma and judgment doesn't really help me with talking openly about why I enjoy using WED and communicating when I have the desire to do so. Gosh. Sorry for this wall of text. I hope any of this makes any sense at all. English isn't my native language. Edit. At the end of our argument today, I told her that in my view the problem is that she does not trust me in making sound decisions on my own. It doesn't matter if I tell her before, after, or not at all. It seems that in her eyes what I am doing is a bad thing. I had a great time yesterday making music. I learned a lot and enjoyed being in flow state today. I feel well rested and worked on some papers for a course I am taking that would not have changed if I had told her that I would smoke. So either way, she doesn't seem to trust me. Thanks a lot for reading and have a great day. Edit 2. I think I might just throw my weed away and never smoke again. Not trying to be childish here. I do enjoy using it. But I don't think it's worth risking or damaging my relationship over it. I don't need it, I enjoy it. And I enjoy a lot of other things too, so I might as well do things which don't spark this much conflict. Edit 3. I do not want to break up with her over a thing such as drugs, thank you. Surely there must be solutions such as communication and compromise to deal with such conflicts. Redditor's reaction. Story 4 after. Redditor 1. Read the TLDR. I don't understand why you have to tell her every single time. Her knowing does absolutely nothing. She sounds controlling and super judgmental. You want to find a solution? Get a new girlfriend because you have nothing to apologize for. Redditor 2. If your girlfriend was posting, I would ask her why she's dating a smoker if she doesn't want to date a smoker. But since it's you, I'm curious why you want to date a control freak if you don't want a girlfriend who is a control freak. Op answer. Well, I don't think I can do the situation or my girlfriend any justice with condensing 4 years of being together in a Reddit post in a language I am not very good at. But does this post give you the impression that she is a control freak? I mean, yeah, it is a form of control, wanting to know every time I consume drugs, but in her view doing something like that is something very harmful. So in her view it just seems as if she wants to protect me, herself and or our relationship from harm by having an eye on something that appears to be harmful. I mean, she does not want to know anything else about me or what I am doing. This and texting with exes are the only things, and that clearly stems from here having made hundreds of negative experiences with these two topics. Redditor 3, you're incompatible, and those two things that you listed are her own issues that she needs to work on. They have zero to do with you. I also don't understand why you have to tell her every single time you smoke. That sounds absolutely controlling and like she wants you to tell her because it's a surefire argument every single time. Op answer. I get that it sounds controlling, but I just try to understand her perspective. She had a buttload full of negative experiences with her exes and father misusing drugs, and it apparently triggers her severely because of that. I know I ain't her therapist, but if we'd break up at this kind of bump in the road, we sure as hell won't be able to form a long-lasting relationship with any human being. Story 4. My wife died 11 months ago and our lives are better. Yes, I am a monster for saying this. Yes, we have a child together in the age range of 8-11. Sorry, no specifics. About 11 months ago, my wife was killed in an auto accident that was not her fault. I won't give specifics for fear of being identified. My wife's mental health had steadily declined over that past 6-7 years. She had become a compulsive shopper, hoarder, depression, anxiety, verbally abusive to me, gaslighting, etc. This was not who I dated and married. Yes, I still loved her. When her mental health was great, best family unit in the world. But when she spiraled, it was just nasty the way she would treat us. Yes, she was in therapy, and yes, she had medication. She was diagnosed as bipolar. We discovered suppressed childhood trauma in a therapy session. Not sexual abuse. But SID parents. Recalling lack of food but money for smokes. Living in a hotel for nearly a year. No Christmas presents. Parents fighting physically in front of her, etc. She had suppressed this and recreated different memories. The last 4 years were hell. Never knowing how she would be in the morning. Seeing her become hostile over me sneezing too loud or our daughter flushing the toilet during her shows. I felt like a prisoner and my child did her best to understand mommy's brain doesn't work right. When I got the call that I needed to come to the hospital, I honestly thought she tried to commit suicide and was hoping she did. When I got to the hospital, time froze. The doctor and a nurse brought me into a room. They said she died of blunt force trauma. I cried. But it was a cry of relief. When my mom brought my daughter home, she cried too. But I think for the same reason as I cried. Today, I am in a better place and so is my child. We have dinners with no yelling. We visit family and friends without getting text accusing me of cheating. My child is not getting yelled at for not understanding her homework. Hell, she still gives me a hug and kiss when I drop her off at school. I have exited therapy. However, my daughter said she still wants to go. So she does. My daughter wants to know about her mom before her mental health issues. And that is how she will be remembered. She was given a proper burial, buried next to her grandpa. We visit the grave about once a week. We got a decent settlement for the accident. Paid our home off. I put the rest in trust for when the kid turns 18. I recently started dating a friend. It's so weird. I'm not used to normal dates. Or having another adult ask me how my day was. She made me breakfast and I forgot what it was like to have someone care for me. Thank you for reading. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, I just came here to say that you're not a monster. It's hard seeing someone you love go through something like this. My mother is bipolar and I have thoughts sometimes that definitely scare me. I'm glad you're happy now and can finally live the life you wanted. Heart. Redditor follow up. Sounds like wife was very abusive and especially alarming she was acting that way towards the child as well. From what I can see, she wasn't taking therapy, medication and other activities close enough to action. And the abuse started ramping up basically after they had a child together. Repeated false accusations of cheating, flying off the handle at minor inconveniences like they're horrendous, etc. are unacceptable, especially towards a child and when showing no signs of stopping or the abuser addressing them. At that stage of boundaries being consistently ignored or impossible to set, relationship has to end for the safety of the kid and their upbringing. Even without a kid, a relationship like that is rotten and must end. Victim doesn't deserve to be abused. Exposure and victimhood to domestic violence abuse severely harms children, and if you haven't already, get your kid domestic violence counseling therapy. Otherwise your kid is at risk of developing severe issues and mental illness. Abusers are rarely just abusive with no trauma or illness of their own. There's almost always some underlying thing like Op's wife's case that influences it, but as difficult as it is, the behavior cannot remain in a relationship. Especially if it's continuously escalating and there's a refusal by the abuser to address the root causes and accept their abusing. At that mark, no one benefits at all from a relationship. The abuser's actions will get worse and the root trauma will be coped with by hurting others. Victim is traumatized by repeatedly being attacked, and child is traumatized to dangerous extents. TLDR put your kid in domestic violence therapy if you haven't already. Redditor 2, I'm glad that you and your daughter are doing better. Redditor 3, damn man, I'm sorry you had to go through all that. I couldn't live watching someone I love mentally decline.